Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Today, we open our hearts to Robert Wright and Julia Hogikian as they commit themselves to each other in marriage. My name is Victor, and I'm honored to be here amongst the friends and families that have raised up such brave lovers. Now, as the past gives way to the future before our very eyes, we entrust each of them to the other. They have proven much to us. They have moved to a new city together. They've taken on long hours at new jobs to secure their future. They've supported each other day after day and encouraged each other to keep going, and they have made a safe place to come home to when the day is done. With these accomplishments in mind, I'd like to give you the briefest introduction of the betrothed. Julia and Bob share an incredible power. They both light up the room they're in, not only because they are beautiful and sophisticated, with original styles all their own, and not just because the way they begin an outbreak of laughter that cracks up the entire room, but because they take the time to illuminate those around them. They invite us warmly to be free, and they do so with the acceptance that can only come from knowing themselves. So how did they get here? From the day that I met Robert, I knew his generosity of spirit. He has a rare fascination with life, an attention to detail that inspires and transforms. You have a vision, a dream, Bob is your champion. Always there for his friends, he doesn't shy away from depth. Rather, he pursues the heart of the matter with passion. Considerate and gentle, Bob faces life with an honest vulnerability that I know has led him right into the arms of a beautiful, brave woman. I've spoken to Julia's family, and there is consensus. Julia chooses her own path and illuminates the way for others. Confident in the love and support of her family, she is guided most by compassion and a desire to help others. Thus, she was inspired to pursue and complete her master's in social work. Still, carving your own unique path can sometimes feel like a solitary pursuit. But as soon as I met Julia, I saw this wasn't a problem for her. Brilliant, magnetic, she has lived the questions in her heart with curiosity and openness that beckons you to join in the search as a co-explorer. Together, their gifts multiply. They are comfortable, yet filled with a beautiful ambition to live life intentionally. When you are with them, you can't help but be inspired to do the same. Julia and Bob feel like home. Julia and Bob also have a knack for getting to the heart of things. When they shared their vision for a wedding ceremony with me, they made it clear they wanted to honor the traditions of their family, but also to be true to their journey. Stepping forward into the unknown is so much easier when you know who you are and where you're coming from. With this dual nature in mind, Julia's father, Dr. Norman Hogikian, will do 2 readings for us from Scripture.
Julia and Bob asked me to pick readings to share, and I've chosen excerpts from 2 epistles of St. Paul. One is his letter to the Colossians, and the other is from his first letter to the Corinthians. These readings focus upon the nature, the significance, the promise, and the responsibilities of love. I think in some ways these could be titled as letters to a young couple embarking upon marriage. From Colossians. Therefore, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. Bear with one another, and if anyone has a complaint against another, forgive each other. 'Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive one another. Forgive one another. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so so you must also forgive. Above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. From 1 Corinthians. If I speak in the tongues of humans and angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable. It keeps no record of wrongs. It does not rejoice in wrongdoings, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things.
Thank you, Dr. Hogikian, for those readings, which guide us to love gently with humility and patience. Both readings speak of love as forbearance, urging us to create space for healing and reconciliation with our love. Bob and Julia both told me that in their relationship, they felt the other gave them permission to be utterly and wholly themselves. Their words resonated with me, reminding me of a poet by the name of Rainier Maria Rilke. Rilke wrote in an age of upheaval, doubt, and anxiety at the dawn of the Great War. With widespread modernization came isolation. And Rilke was keenly aware of a pervasive loneliness that accompanied change. Amidst this, he strove to touch the intangible and the divine. Our world now bears a striking resemblance to Rilke's. Fortunately, Rilke finds that with patience and faith, there is a path through the unknown. In a series of published letters, a younger poet seeks out Rilke's advice, and their correspondence blossoms into a deep friendship. The guidance Rilke gives to this young poet is incredibly useful to us. As it turns out, was also reflected in the vision of love my dear friends Bob and Julia shared with me. Rilke urged his contemporary to develop and grow in his solitude. Rather than let loneliness embitter us or frighten us into grasping for connection, we must hold dear our silent moments and become familiar with the questions that come up in that quiet. These are the questions that must be lived, Rilke says, and are what guide us to our true journey. So, where does marriage fit in amidst all of this, you might be asking? How can two merging souls ever know solitude again? Here, I'll let Rilke speak for himself, and I do believe he's channeling the same love that Julia and Bob celebrate today. The point of marriage is not to create a quick commonality by tearing down all boundaries. On the contrary, a good marriage is one in which each partner appoints the other to be the guardian of their solitude. And thus, they show each other the greatest possible trust. A merging of two people is an impossibility, but once the realization is accepted that even between the closest people, infinite distances exist, a marvelous living side by side can grow up for them if they succeed in loving the expanse between them, which gives them the possibility of always seeing the other as a whole and before an immense sky. Rilke tells us not just to make room for the love of our life, but to make safe their retreat into inner places, to let them explore the vastness of the sky, and to celebrate the fruits of this labor. This is love for Rilke. Today is a commitment to preserve a sacred space for each other, the space for each to continuously rediscover themselves. It's no wonder that Julia and Bob remind me of a famous poet. Not only do they both exemplify his sage advice, they both share an incredible way with words. And so much of today is really about the unsayable, the invisible. We can feel it, but we rarely get the opportunity or have the skill to translate the immeasurable into words. Because Bob and Julia have written their own vows, they have given us this rare opportunity to bear witness to love's promise, to hear the truest words of their hearts. In hearing these vows, we become a part of their love. Every miracle needs its witnesses. So join me in asking these brave lovers to make their vows known to us so we can finally give them our fullest blessings.
Bob, after living most of my life unsure I would take this step at all, I knew almost immediately that I was going to marry you. When I surprised myself by going out on a limb and letting you in on this, you surprised me. Not only did you not think I was out of my mind, you knew it was true too. The past year with you has been so special, both in planning this day and beginning our life together, and in learning each of the specific reasons why my gut feeling about us was right. Each day with you has made me more certain that we are meant to live this life together. If someone had asked me before I met you what I would want in a partner, I would have given a list of qualities: kind, sensitive, funny, thoughtful, artistic, passionate. Of course, you have all of these qualities and so many more. What makes you the love of my life, though, are all the things I could not have imagined in a partner before meeting you. You make the mundanities and stresses of life not only bearable, but meaningful and joyful. I promise to create joy and meaning with you every day. You encourage me while allowing me space to grow in my own ways and to rest when I need it. I promise to give you space to pursue your passions, to be there when you are soaring, and to stand guard when you come to rest. You have brought me closer to my family and all those who love me. You have helped me to give and accept love in ways I didn't think were possible. I promise to love you and love with you, to be your connection to all the love in your life. You are my refuge in an ever-changing and often terrifying world. I promise to be by your side through whatever life brings. When I wasn't sure I wanted marriage, I thought it meant giving up my freedom and compromising parts of myself that I love and that are still evolving. I realize now that I didn't know what true freedom felt like until I fell in love with you. I love you.
Julia, let me set down now before all those who have shaped us. Let me breathe it in every moment I'm alive as it breathes life into me. I have an answer, a promise, and a pledge. I love you. To every hardship, every trial, every threat, I love you. To every goodness we grasp and every hope we harbor, I love you. To the glowing expanses within you, stirring and unknowable, I love you. To the peace you nurture, to the fine graces that run through your open fingers and crash against you suddenly, I love you. And to the dormant dreams that weigh you, unrealized, I love you. In the deepest part of me, I believe we were called to one another. I believe we are possessed of an otherworldly force that seldom touches people, something not guaranteed, something beyond knowing or convention that broke in from above and found us together. Standing here, looking at you, enveloped by all the blessings you have borne, I know that you saved my life. I know this to a certainty. You humble me. You enliven all you touch. You arrive again and again, undaunted as yourself. You are my life's purpose and my life's joy. And so I will forget myself, often as I can. I will speak plainly, and I will listen. I will receive you always into the knotted doubts and closed compartments where I retreat. I will find freedom in our devotion, in no fulfillment, in the daily weaving of our communion across a lifetime. I will sense you in stillness and stand with you in solitude. Let us cherish each other as the guiding light for all that we encounter, for as long as we live.
I think I can speak for everyone here when I say these vows are beyond inspiring. They show us what love can be and where it can take us. Love is a guiding light, an inheritance we receive from our very first breath. And none remember those very first breaths of Robert and Julia like their loving mothers, Patty Hogikian and Caroline Wright. I said earlier that today the past gives way to the present. The candles here symbolize the passing forward of love, that it might be a guiding light for many lifetimes to come. We now invite the mothers of the betrothed to light these candles. Patty Hogikian, mother of the bride, who brought Julia into the world, loves her always, and prepared her for this day, now passes on to Julia this light. Caroline Wright, mother of the groom, who brought Robert into this world, loves him always, and has prepared him for this day, passes on to him her light. Now, as they join the two flames together over this candle, a new flame is born. Carry it forward in your heart and let your love illuminate the world. With this blessing from your families and with your vows spoken, we will now exchange rings. Robert, repeat after me. With this ring, I marry you, Julia.
With this ring, I marry you, Julia.
I bind my life to yours.
I bind my life to yours.
It is a symbol of my eternal love,
It is a symbol of my eternal love,
my everlasting friendship,
my everlasting friendship,
and the promise of all my tomorrows.
and the promise of all my tomorrows.
Julia, repeat after me. With this ring, I marry you, Robert,
With this ring, I marry you, Robert,
and bind my life to yours.
and bind my life to yours.
It is a symbol of my eternal love,
It is a symbol of my eternal love,
my everlasting friendship,
my everlasting friendship,
and the promise of all my tomorrows.
and the promise of all my tomorrows.
Today, our faith and love is proven yet again. You have shown us the light in your hearts. You have shown us your love. You have said the unsayable, and we have heard you. Receive our blessing, that you may bring joy and laughter to one another, that you may guard each other in solitude and celebrate each other in faith, that you may be held in good health and healed in sickness, that you may build each other a paradise in your hearts and harbor each other in your arms, until white wings take all burdens from you. Amen. With the faith vested in me by your friends and family, and with the power vested in me by the state of Michigan, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss. I am so pleased to introduce Mr. and Mrs. Hogikian Wright.